What is up PG Nation, I'm Ben, and in today's video I'll go over my 10 best games like Zelda on Android and iOS, playable offline. And a quick reminder while you're here to hit the subscribe button and turn on all notifications. I would love it if you did, and if you do, you will get your comments on screen just like right now. Now, let's do this! Number 10. Moonlighter. Moonlighter is an awesome action RPG. The game, developed by Digital Sun and 11-bit studios, was originally released on PC and consoles and iOS before finally landing on Android, but it was definitely worth the wait. In Moonlighter, you run a shop by day and go exploring a series of randomly generated dungeons by night, slashing monsters and collecting loot to bring back to either sell or upgrade your weapons, shop or town. The roguelite elements are also present in the loot, and the game has a highly addictive mix of action RPG gameplay and town building. The mobile port is optimized for touchscreens, but there's been complaints with bugs here and there. The good news is that if you're a Netflix member, it is free to play and all DLCs are included. Talk about a sweet deal. Number 9. Swordigo. Deep down, Swordigo is Legends of Zelda meets platforming. Kinda like Zelda 2 on the NES. With graphics that give N64 vibes, Swordigo will have you explore caves, dungeons and towns while fighting enemies, upgrading weapons and items to get stronger. You play as a young fella who sets out on an epic quest to save the world from a major danger. The story is really nothing to write home about. Thankfully, it makes up for it with its gameplay and RPG mechanics. Your character levels up by slicing the bad guys with your sword or blasting them with magic, which makes your attack, mana and HP goes up with each level. Swordigo achieves a good balance between challenging platforming sequences and that RPG progression, and despite its age, it's definitely worth a shot. Number 8. The Sword of Ditto. The Sword of Ditto is an action-adventure RPG where you play as multiple heroes in an endless fight against the villain Mormo. This is a roguelike game, meaning that every time you die, you will start again as a new hero, but your past playthroughs will have an impact, so for example, you can recover weapons and loot from your previous fallen heroes. The visuals are very colorful and cutesy, making it feel like you're inside a cartoon, and a very good looking one. Weapon-wise, we have the standard swords and bow and arrows, but also some unusual weapons like the vinyl record or a golf club. The combat is simple yet challenging, the puzzles are fun, and the soundtrack is delightful. Finally, the price tag is correct, so if you haven't played this, well, you should. Number 7. Ys Chronicles 1. Ys Chronicles 1 feels a lot like you're playing Zelda Link's Awakening. Just like Link, Edo washes ashore without memories, and both characters share the theme of silent heroes that allows the game's story to unfold. You're quested to save a kingdom consumed by demons, just like Ganon's army taking over Hyrule. Gameplay-wise, the battle system is simplistic and the game plays just as well on touchscreens as it does with a controller. Ys Chronicles is the remake of the first Ys game on PC and the PSP, but if you prefer the nostalgic view, you can switch to the original pixel graphics in the adventure mode. Number 6. Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion isn't a tax evasion sim. Instead, it's a Zelda-like game that Zelda fans will surely get a kick out of. The game will have you actively avoid paying your taxes by hunting down documents in dungeons just so you can tear them up. It's as ridiculous as it sounds, and the gameplay is loads of fun. It follows the typical Zelda mechanics, exploring an overworld, diving into dungeons, solving puzzles, all with an outrageous yet amusing sense of humor on top. Turnip Boy is free to try and it takes around 2 hours to beat it, which might make some question the price tag, but let me tell you, it's absolutely worth it. Number 5. Adventures of Mana. Adventures of Mana is a 3D remake of the classic Game Boy game Final Fantasy Adventure, and is basically the closest take from Square Enix on the early Zelda franchise. Despite the Final Fantasy name attached, this feels nothing like a Final Fantasy game. You have complete freedom to move around in the fields, combat is done in real time with auto-targeting, a feature added in the remake, but most of all, progress is tied to overcoming tricky puzzles and mind-boggling challenges, much like dungeons in the old-school Zelda games. Nevertheless, Adventures of Mana is still one of the more colorful Square remakes on Android, so if you're looking for a blast from the past with a modern-day take on the fantasy adventure genre, check out Adventures of Mana. Number 4. Oceanhorn. The action RPG puts you in the shoes of a boy in search of his missing father. Oceanhorn sports some beautiful charming 3D visuals with great world and character design. Mechanically speaking, this feels a lot like the Legend of Zelda games. It also happens to be one of my all-time favorite Zelda-like games on mobile. It has sounds to explore, mini dungeons with puzzles and secrets to uncover, as well as bosses to defeat in each one. Aside from being a Zelda-like game, Oceanhorn has an engaging story that you won't be ready to forget. An amazing soundtrack by the composers of the Final Fantasy and the Mana series, controller support, and well above 15 hours of gameplay for the completionists. Oceanhorn is so much more than a copy and paste Zelda clone, and I highly recommend playing it. Number 3. Evoland 2. The sequel to Evoland is more than a Legend of Zelda clone. It has a ton of Easter eggs inspired from the Final Fantasy, Legend of Zelda, and Metal Gear Solid series, along with famous pop culture references. The core gameplay is very Zelda-ish, with exploring, using tools to remove obstacles in dungeons, and defending yourself with your sword at hand. There's also other genres thrown into the mix like card games, shooters, and platformers to keep things from ever getting boring. And if you do enjoy this one, the first Evoland is just as good, and both will definitely scratch that Zelda itch. Number 2. Trials of Mana. Trials of Mana is a remake of the 1995 SNES action RPG of the same name, now with 3D graphics and tweaked for mobile. Trials of Mana is an absolute joy. The graphics are colorful and charming, the action combat is a breeze, and the story, as well as the characters, are engaging and will keep you sucked in from start to finish. Story-wise, Trials of Mana has you controlling a group of adventurers who are brought together and drawn into a quest to defeat evil forces and save the dying mana tree. Definitely recommend this for Zelda and Square Enix fans. Number 1. Sparklight. From Playdigious, the same publisher that brought us the Evoland games, Sparklight has you play as Ada, who after crash landing onto a magical land must bring down the greedy evil villain Baron. You will likely come across endless ways to explore the randomly generated lands in search of Sparklight, the game's currency that you can use to upgrade your weapon and gear. As with roguelike games, every time your character dies, you restart at the base, where you can reverse engineer weapons, add patches for buffs, or get to know more of the villagers seeking your help. Sparklight features some gorgeous retro-inspired pixel art, an original soundtrack, cloud saves, and a much appreciated controller support. And if you're not sure yet about buying the game, you can try out a demo for free. And that sums up my best games like Zelda on mobile to play offline in 2023, but now I want to hear from you down in the comments. What is your favorite game from the list? Of course, as always, if you enjoyed this video, clicking the like button does help me out a lot and I would really appreciate that. And if you're new, consider subscribing because I put out new videos like this every week. Also, a special thanks to my YouTube members, and if you want to support my content as well, links are down in the description. You can also show some love to this video with a super thanks. Once again, I'm Ben, thank you EG for watching, and I'll see you next time, right here on Android GameSpot. Stay epic!